Hello,
I think we did
everybody.
it. Hello.
How are you, Carissa?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain too much. How about you, Miss Mel?
Not too bad. Happy Yule. Today is the winter solstice.
Yes, happy Yule.
Well, I am super excited for today's episode. We are going to be discussing Phantasma by Kaylie Smith.
Yes.
Super excited. So the bulk of the stream today is going to be about that, and then towards the end of the stream, we're going to talk about Yule, the winter solstice, kind of like what we typically do,
Yes.
and then yeah, they just basically get right to it. I'm just kind of prepping my phone so that I can also see it. All right, so I'm so excited. Okay, so let's just dive in.
Yes.
So Phantasma is a it's how would you put it? It's like a mysterious, interesting, spicy book
Yeah, definitely spicy.
by Kaylie
Very
Smith.
spicy.
Uh-huh. It
Like, on a scale of 1 to 5 spice, I'd give it like a solid 4, sometimes 5
I
spice.
agree with you. I mean, it was way spicier than, Akatar. I feel like Akatar was kind of like just like a gateway,
Oh, yeah.
drug into these like smutty books. But
Yeah.
Phantasma literally just came out on September 3rd. I knew it had come out this year, but I didn't realize it was just so recently. So before we get, because we have kind of like an idea of how we want to do this, before we get into that, so we do like a quick synopsis of what the book's about. And yes, we're gonna go over some spoilers here.
Yes.
So if you don't want spoilers, then maybe save it and watch this once you read the book to see if
Yeah.
we all agree on the same things. But basically, Phantasma, and Carissa, feel free to chime in and add whatever I'm missing.
Sure.
Um, but it is, based in New Orleans or New Orleans, and it is this family of necromancers, and it opens up with like it's two sisters with their mom passing away, and then they have to complete this ritual where basically they transfer the mom's like skills to the oldest daughter, which is Ophelia, and so that way she can kind of carry on with a family legacy of like helping people like with their dead as they are necromancers and whatnot. So upon all of this happening, they discovered that their mom had put a loan on the house, a lien on the house, and she wasn't paying on it, so they were going to lose their house in, I think it was like 30 days or so. um, in that whole thing, the youngest daughter is Genevieve, and the oldest daughter is Ophelia. So Genevieve kind of disappears, and Ophelia's like, "What is going on? Like, where are you? We need to figure this out together. We're gonna lose the house."
Mhm.
So Ophelia has no idea where Genevieve is, so she starts like looking through her diary and stuff, looking for clues to see where is her sister. So upon doing this, she finds out that Genevieve entered this competition called Phantasma at this like haunted mansion estate, right?
Yeah.
And then
We call it the Devil's Manor. Yeah.
yes, in this manner. So basically, this is a place where it's a competition, and the house is full of strangers, and you have to go through these challenges, and then the winner at the end, they get a wish granted by a devil, and I believe there's also like a monetary prize, right? Because like people that were there,
There
they
could be. So you could use your wish to get money, or you
right,
could use it for something else, like some side characters that were there. Like there were a brother and sister whose youngest brother had passed away, so they were going to use the wish to try to bring him back. A lot of people were there for financial reasons, so they're going
right,
to ask for whatever money they needed. One thing I want to add on before we jump in too much deeper in the story, because it's a big part of the story. I know a
yeah,
big part of the story that you love.
yeah,
So Ophelia is the oldest daughter, so she sort of feels like the burden of taking on like the family legacy, the family business. And Genevieve's the younger one. Genevieve's more like, has more freedom and more of a social life because she doesn't have those expectations. So I think in dealing with all that stress, and it's hard to say because of what happens later in the book, but she sort of struggles with OCD in a sense. So
yes,
she
I
has this voice in her head that will tell her things like, if you don't tap on the dresser 3 times, your sister's going to die. So like she has this compulsion to do it, even though she
Yeah.
knows it's not rational. And it's something she's been dealing with pretty much her whole life. And her family call it the shadow voice.
Right. I actually wanted to touch on that later of like
Yeah.
Ophelia's OCD,
Mhm.
but yeah. So basically, she finds out that Genevieve entered this competition. It kind of reminds me of like the Road Rules Real World Challenge, where these strangers go into the house. There's all these like challenges you have to like
Yeah.
do in order to be able to get a prize. But when Ophelia gets there, she finds out that her sister is basically in another group. So she's not going to really see her sister right away, but when she gets to Phantasma, she meets this guy
Hi.
who I know.
Love
so
him.
so so before I get into this guy, something cool is that this house is haunted. This manor is haunted. There's all kinds of paranormal beings in here. There's like apparitions, phantoms, ghouls, devils. So you can already imagine. So they make these challenges really challenging. And then also, these challenges are inspired by the deadly sins. Like, we're
Yeah.
talking gluttony, greed, lust. Like, so there's like a lot going on in the house.
Yeah.
So when Ophelia gets to the house, she makes a deal with this phantom. And the deal was that um, because he was basically kinda, like, attached and trapped in the manor. So the deal was like, "Okay, I am gonna help you with the challenges, I'll help you win, but in exchange, you have to find this heart and key that will set me free. If you don't, and I still help you, then you have to give me 10 years of your life." So that was, like, the deal that they had, and that's kinda like how it goes throughout the book.
Mhm.
Um and then, of course, all these things
Yeah.
happen. Another thing too is that the house could basically unalive you, like it
Yeah.
does one of the things because everybody's there for themselves. They need to win this a wish because again, a lot of people just want it for money. So it gets really crazy. But another thing is that in the house, you cannot fall in love because
Yes.
that could also
You'll
result
be
in
you'll
you
be
in you being
cursed.
right. It potentially you could be unalived as well.
Yes.
So that's kind of like I would say a synopsis of that. Would you want
Yeah.
to add anything else to that? Hey, Miss Blogger, thank you so much for
Hi.
joining us. So
I
anything
was
else you want to add to like the
Yeah, I was
synopsis
gonna
before
add
we?
in the reason I
Yeah,
wanted to touch briefly on the shadow voice
yeah,
before we go more in depth to it later is that to enter Phantasma, you have to surrender your greatest fear. And then at some point in the competition, the house is going to present that to you, but it's going to feel very real. Um, and so even though you know that that's going to happen, there's so much other stuff going on that you kind of forget about it. And then like your worst fear is happening in front of you and you're like, oh my God. Um, so there's definitely a lot going on. But yeah, I made lists of like the order they went in, like to the different challenges, so, like
yeah,
whatever you want to jump
yeah.
into next, like I'm ready.
Um,
I read this book twice. So let me also say, I had not read this book when our last podcast, which
it was like almost a month ago.
was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think. It looks like I'm frozen, but I'm still here. Oh,
I
was it a month
see
ago?
you.
Okay, so a month ago,
Yeah.
I had not read this book, and I think I was still finishing Crescent City, which I finished, and then I read Phantasma in, like, a day, and then I read it again this week to prep for the podcast, but I liked it so much, I did it twice. So it's a very good recommendation
Yeah.
from Mel,
So we're
for
actually gonna
sure.
touch base on that too. So we kind of have this broken down how we want to go about it in like basically
Yeah.
questions. So the first one is, of course, how did you read the book? Like I read it digital version, so I did the Kindle app version. So how did you read the book?
So what I did for this book both times, I actually did the Audible version, and I should have written down her name. There's this amazing voice actor, Lauren something. I want to say her last name starts with an I. I'll have to look it up. Um, but her narration of Phantasma actually won like best of the year on
Oh,
Audible because she does such a good job with it. She's really, really good. She does a lot of like fantasy romantasy books. She's a pretty popular narrator. But this is maybe the second book I listened that she narrated, and it
Yeah.
was so good. She did such a good job. Like, you could tell who was talking at all times. Like, she was really, really good.
Oh,
So
I
I
need to
enjoyed
do
it.
that. I
Yeah.
haven't really done any audiobooks, so I need to do that for sure.
Yeah.
So now that we established how we read the book, we kind of touched base on this already, but how long did it take you to read? Me personally, because I use Fable to keep track of my reading, and it took me 9 days to read it, but only because I wasn't reading, like, nonstop. I work, and then
Yeah.
I work at the house, and then there's life. Life is lifing.
Yeah.
So because of all of that, all the interruptions, it took me 9 days, but I feel like if I had more time to kind of read uninterrupted, I would have read this in
Sure.
maybe, like, a few days. So you read it in, like, one day?
Well, yeah, let me preface by saying I have some medical stuff that's been going on, so I'm technically on leave from work. So I had time to just listen to the book. So I did it in like a day and 2 hours the next day, basically, to finish it up. And then this past time that I did it, I think I did it in a day again, actually.
That is pretty
Maybe
cool.
2 days.
I wanted to reread it for the podcast, but I just didn't have time. But I love the book so much.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really good.
Now, this kind of brings me to like the next part. Like, did you find it easy to read, and did it keep your attention the whole time? Like for me, I found it very easy to read, and in my opinion, it wasn't a book where it took you time to get into. Like right now, I started reading Quicksilver, and there's so much hype around Quicksilver, and I'm struggling to kind of keep on reading. Like I'm on around page 115 maybe, but like it
Mhm.
hasn't gotten good yet. So I'm like,
Yeah,
but Phantasma, in my opinion, grabs you from the beginning, and it's so easy to read, and it got my attention the whole time. How about
yeah.
you?
I would say pretty much the same. So I kind of had an idea going into it because we had talked about it, spoiler free, but we had talked about it on
Mhm.
a previous podcast and like what the theme was with the circles of hell and the challenges. And I was like really excited for that. So like the first chapter, like it wasn't slow to read, but I was like, come on, let's get to pin. Like I couldn't wait for them to get started with the competition. So it
Yeah,
was just like, let's get all this backstory over with so we can get started because this is going to be
yeah,
crazy. But oh my gosh, it was such an easy, and it was an easy listen because I didn't technically read, but I
yeah.
listened to it.
Yeah, I
So
found,
good.
yeah, I thought it was a pretty easy read. Now, so getting more into the book. So what did you like? Just kind of like overall, what did you think of the book? Like, if let me see how to phrase that because we're gonna get into characters in just a little bit. But
Yeah.
like overall, like it's almost like, so what do you think? Did you like it? Like, what did you think of the book?
I would say to anyone that
I'm gonna
like
put you full. Let's see if it lets me put you full screen because we were having some issues earlier. Let's see how this looks. Hold on.
oh, we're
Oh
circles
no,
again.
we're circles again. We were struggling earlier with this. Okay. I guess I'm just
All
not
right.
gonna mess with it. So, okay.
Okay.
So
Um,
so go ahead.
I would say for anyone that likes romantasy, dark romance, maybe dark academia in a way, like with what the her sort of fashion sense is in the book and like the vibe of the house and New Orleans, like, I think that it's a slam dunk. You're gonna love it. If you're someone that's not into this genre of book, I think it could get you into this genre of book because it's really good, really interesting, funny at times, makes you like giggle and kick your feet at times because it's so cute and romantic at times.
Yeah.
Like you're invested pretty easily in the characters. And there's not necessarily, sometimes in books, like, like, have you read Fourth Wing yet?
No, not
Oh,
yet.
girl, first of all,
I
please.
know. I
The third
need
one comes
to.
out in a month. But
I know
anyway,
that people are, like, going crazy about it.
this isn't a big Fourth Wing spoiler, but like there's just this one couple in it that like have the same argument over and over. And it's just like communicate, you guys. Like there's not really that frustration in this book where like they're repeating the same mistake over and over. There's maybe
Mhm.
a little bit of it of like, we shouldn't, but we shouldn't, but it's like adorable. So it's not
Yeah.
annoying. No, I would say like I don't know if I was gonna go like 1 to 5 stars on Goodreads or whatever, I'd probably give it 5 stars. Like, it's an easy read, so if you're
Yeah.
looking for, like, really technically intricate, impressive writing or something, I don't know if it's that, but it's entertaining, it's a solid story. There's gonna be more to come.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my gosh, yes, we're gonna talk about that
so, yeah,
too.
so I think it's great. I think it's a great world that was created. You don't feel like you're waiting 300 pages for the book to start, like, it kinda just jumps off, like,
Yeah.
it's good. It's really
Yeah,
good.
like, it literally starts with, like, their mother dying,
Yeah,
it just doesn't even ease you into, it's like, "Yeah, so this lady's dead.
yeah,
Now what?"
yeah.
Um,
It's like she walks downstairs and finds her mother dead, that's, like, the first thing that
yeah.
happens. So it's
So,
like,
like
we're starting off crazy.
yeah, so I wrote some notes, I mean, I loved it, and it's just many things. I love, like, the paranormal aspects and
Yeah,
touch, the occult elements, these paranormal beings, again, and it kinda touches a little bit about that, like, what is an apparition? Like, what is a ghoul? What is a phantom? And
yeah,
I love that it's just so different from what you typically see, and then, you know, loving ACOTAR in Front of Glass and all of that, like, I felt like
mhm.
this book was definitely right up my alley. I
Yes.
feel like this book feels a little more grown up than ACOTAR,
Yeah,
um, and I thought it was, again, really easy, to read. I love, like, the whole, like, mystery, it's like this mysterious thing about it. Um,
mhm,
I love that the main character, the love interest, Blackwell, he's a phantom. Like, he
mhm.
is a phantom that can make himself corporeal, so you can feel him, you
Solid.
can touch him,
You sure
he
can.
so it's like, wow. So
Yeah.
I really
Ooh,
like
he's a
that.
charmer.
I like that, also, the human characters like Ophelia, like, to me,
Mhm,
I think that they feel really real.
mhm.
Like, the character of Ophelia, just feels, like, relatable,
Yeah,
and I feel like the book also kind of gives you everything that you want in the book. Because as you're reading the book, you're like, man, I really hope this happens. And then boom, it
yeah,
happens. And
yeah.
it's not that it's just necessarily like, oh, it's so predictable, but like
Right,
I feel like some books can be predictable
for sure.
and still leave you unsatisfied. I feel like this one gives you everything that you wanted in a way where you feel satisfied and you're like, damn, this was a really good book.
Yeah.
So that's why I really like it. And now jumping to the next question.
Yes.
Wh Who is your favorite character and why? And then I'm gonna jump into that right after you. You see, I have 2 characters and I have an honorable mention. So who are your favorite characters and why?
Okay, so number 1 is Blackwell. He's
Of course.
he is I
The Shadow
feel like
Daddy.
I know him at this point. He's just huh. No, he's super charming, he's super, like, smart, intuitive,
Mhm.
thoughtful, gentle when he needs to be, but, like, I'll kill him if he hurts you, which we all know I love that energy. Um,
Yeah.
and we'll get into this later, but there's a twist with him that's very enjoyable. Um, and he's snarky and sarcastic and just funny, and he also says the most, like, swoon-worthy things.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
great. And then I do love Ophelia. I like that her struggle with the shadow voice wasn't, like, magically solved, and she just learns to manage it and, like, seek outside support, which I totally get as, like,
Yeah.
the oldest daughter syndrome where, like, you feel like you need to take care of everyone else and do everything, and then, like, you should figure out your own shit stuff. Can I
Yeah.
curse on YouTube? Um, and and but with Blackwell's support, she realized, like, it's okay to ask for help or, to seek out what I need to function better in my life. And I really like that as much as it's very fantastical and there's necromancy and ghosts and devils and all this stuff. Like, I
Yes.
found that mental health piece super relatable. So I loved her story. And I also loved like how she was not afraid. Like she was afraid, like realistically, like, there's a swinging axe coming for my head or something that's scary. But like a devil would give her attitude and she'd be like, hey, F off and just go
Right.
about her business. And I loved that.
Yeah.
And she also has like great style, the way it's described, like super cute dresses and ribbons in her hair, but like dark and gothy, which
Mhm.
like if I could dress up every day, that's probably how I would dress.
Yeah.
I'm into it. But those are my top two, which they're the main two characters. So I'm not
Yeah.
being groundbreaking here, but they're great.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna basically my two favorite characters are the same. And then I have an honorable mention. So again, I do love Ophelia because the same things you said. I feel like she's very relatable. I feel like I feel like I have a little bit of OCD myself.
Mhm.
I feel like most people have a little bit of OCD in some ways. Like I am one that like my coworkers know when I am at work because when I get there I have to honk my thing 3 times, the alarm, like, "Beep, beep, beep." If I don't, I feel like I just
Is
get,
it
like,
really locked? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, or, like, is something gonna happen? I didn't beep it 3 times. So, like, I love that she is, again, she is such a human, so relatable.
Yeah.
She has her struggles. Um, like, I think that it just makes her, like, very real, like like, I could be Ophelia, you could be Ophelia, you know?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the necromancer, thing, I mean, if you think about it, it doesn't necessarily have to even be, like, a supernatural thing because, therapist, like you help people deal with loss too, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So like
Mhm.
I feel like she's such a relatable character, so human in that it just like I like her. You're like that could
Yeah.
be me, that
Yeah.
could be me. So that's why and plus, she like you said, she can be like a badass when she needs to. She
Mhm.
is vulnerable, but at the same time, like she's like, you know what? No, this is what I
Yeah.
want. And you go F off. You leave me
Yes.
alone and I'm over it. Like nobody's gonna walk all over me. And
Yeah.
it's funny, I like too that she is like she's kind of shy. So her sister
Mhm.
Genevieve is kind of like the opposite, like outspoken, extroverted, while Ophelia is more like introverted and more but she really comes out of her shell in
Yeah.
the book. And she like you said, the shadow boys and stuff, like she pulls herself all of this, like, I don't know, internal drama that she has, so I love her,
Yeah.
and then I love Blackwell because of what you said. I mean, he is this, sexy shadow daddy,
So
phantom,
sexy.
corporeal, not corporeal, but like you said, he's like it's like he can be scary and, like, intense, but at the same time, like you said, like, you touch her and you'll be unalive.
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, it's like this intensity, and
Yeah.
he really helps her come out of her shell, see herself as this beautiful, like, powerful woman. So I love their chemistry.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 favorite characters, but my honorable mention, I feel like when I say it, you're gonna agree, is Poe the cat.
Oh, yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I love that I don't wanna get too ahead of myself because we're gonna talk about this in a little bit,
Yeah.
but I love that in the end,
Yes.
um, he okay, well, I guess I could say that it's not too much of a whatever, but, like, he is, like because basically Phantasma is ran by the devil himself, sorta, kinda, maybe,
Yeah.
kinda tied into
Kinda.
it, so Poe is like the devil's cat, and he was technically a spy there, but in the end, Poe was like, "You know what?
I'm gonna stay
No,
with this nice lady.
I'll stay with them. I like them better." And then he
Yeah.
was kinda like I don't know. His interactions throughout the book are so cute because
Yes.
he is literally a cat.
Yeah.
He is everything you could think of a cat could be. Like, he's
Yeah.
a bit of a jerk,
Yeah.
but he's cute. And then, he was supposed to be the devil's cat or Satan's cat, and all of a sudden at the end it's like, "You know
Yeah.
what? Oh, he's just so fluffy." And then he's a
I
good guy in
still
the
have
end.
listen, I do like Poe, and I think there's a lot of really cute, funny moments, especially when, like, Blackwell says something like, you know degrading to him. So he like jumps off his lap and will like go with Ophelia or whatever. But, and I don't want to get ahead of myself either, but because there's still pieces of the past and this mystery a little unknown to the two main characters,
Mhm.
my concern is, did Poe stay because he loves them, or is he still
Oh, a
reporting back to
spy.
Daddy? Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's
I don't know.
true.
I hope that Poe is going to make good choices, but I don't know. So I do think he's funny and adorable, but I do wonder about his motives. But we can get a little
True.
bit more into that.
That is true, but, like, overall, like, that's why I
Yeah.
say he's, like, an honorable mention, like,
Yes.
it's just kinda
Yeah.
cute, like, but, talking about favorite characters, we have to talk about our most hated character. I have a feeling you and I are gonna have the exact same character.
Yeah.
Who is your most hated character?
My most hated, most hated is Cade.
Yes, same,
I hate
same!
Cade. Spoiler alert, I'm glad he's dead. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I'm glad she unalived him. I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. So there's these, 9 challenges, I think. And
I
one
think
of
so,
them
yeah.
at the very end, like right before the last challenge that she does, is called Violence. And there's tokens involved. And there's like kind of with almost every level, there's like a riddle or something. And it's
Mhm,
basically like there's Ophelia, Cade, and Charlotte. They're all that's left in this group at this point in the story.
mhm,
Violet, or not Violet, that's fourth wing. Ophelia goes in last and has to decide to take 1 or 2 coins. And depending on what she takes, is who she's going to have to fight to survive this challenge. And it's to the death.
right, because I
And
mean, that's how the
yeah,
competition is. These contestants, like,
you have to be
they're
the last
going
person
to
alive
right,
to
so
enter to,
it's gonna get
yeah.
ugly. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, contestants either die or forfeit in this game or win, but only one wins. So anyway, she, with Blackwell's help, because she has that blood bond or blood oath with Blackwell, where he can come, she calls him, he comes to her during the challenges, and he could be like, okay, Cade took both coins. So she took 2 coins so that she would fight Cade so that Charlotte could make it through and she wouldn't have to fight her. And she gives him what he deserves. But he's just a dick, a jerk. I gotta watch my language from the beginning of this book when you meet
Yeah.
him. He is misogynistic and judgmental and just very violent and, toxic masculinity in a character, basically, like just so unkind to people. I hated him so much. Like, I hated him more than I hated the devils. I hated him.
I agree with you, and you know what? I think that you are going to agree with me on this, but because we both read Throne of Glass, he is Cain.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
if you guys read Throne of Glass, like, literally the first Throne of Glass book, they also have, like, a competition kinda
Yeah.
sorta like this,
Yeah.
kinda sorta, and there's
Yeah.
this character, Cain. It's funny, Cain and Cade are
Clean
almost sound
Kate. Yeah.
alike, but they were, like, the nastiest contestants or participants of the competitions. They were
Yeah.
both vile, cheap, low, like,
Yeah.
they were like the scum of the earth. So, as I'm reading, I'm like, "This is Cain. This is
Yeah.
Cain from Throne of
And
Glass,"
at
but
least
yeah.
I think at least Cain was, like, possessed, I think, right? Like, he had
Yeah,
the ring or the collar or something.
Cain had, like,
He had something to
mhm,
sort of excuse his behavior, but Cade is just an all out
vile.
jackass. Like, he's so mean. Like, it's like you're already in this intense situation. Everyone's there because they're desperate and everyone needs something. We all know how this is gonna go. You don't have to make it even more
And
difficult and awful, and, like,
yeah.
he hits women, like, I just don't like it. I don't know.
If I remember correctly, I think the reason Cade was in the competition was because his family was broke, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he was really greedy from the get-go.
yes.
And even he had, like, other family members that were contestants, like their
Mhm.
cousins or something, and he
Yeah,
could
his cousin
care
Lucy.
l like, he could care less.
Yeah,
Like, he was all about him. So,
yeah. I
yeah.
thought we might get some sort of redemption from him when during the deceit trial, his friend got like smushed by the spoiler alert, smushed by the statue,
Mhm.
because he actually cried. And I was like, oh, he actually cares about someone other than himself. And he was also pissed on his cousin's behalf. So I was like, ooh, maybe. But then he just went right back to being a jerk. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think
he's
that
gone now.
yeah, I think that that part kinda made him look more human. The fact that
Mhm.
he showed a little bit of these emotions, but just like in real life, there's some really horrible people out there, and
Yeah.
that was Cade. So, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely agree with you on he was, like, the worst character,
Mhm. Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
book. Now, the next question is, um, what's your favorite scene or part? I have 2 here listed for me, but I wanna
Okay.
see what you think.
Okay. So I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna do my favorite like level of the challenges and then like a favorite scene outside of that.
Okay.
Outside of town. So my favorite level was what was it called? Oh, it was the deceit level, the true or false one, basically. I just liked that because I felt like it revealed some stuff. Like, for example, with Cade, he's like very peacocking how strong and tough he is, and like whatever. So the thing that they say about him, and then the other people have to decide if it's true or false, and if they're wrong, they die. Is that Cade murdered his brother-in-law, and like people assume like, oh, he must have, and he's like making it seem like he did, but it turns out he didn't. So it's like not that it's badass to murder your brother-in-law, but like he's just pretending he's this thing that he's not. So I thought that was interesting that like they made sure to put that in there, like he hasn't actually done these things that he's saying he will do. It's just a lot of blustering and like hot air coming from this guy.
Yeah, which again
Um,
makes him look human again. Like
yes.
it's just like a just like just people in real
Yeah,
life, like they
and
just try
I
to,
really
you know.
thought it was beautiful and heartbreaking, the Lucy and Leon stuff that happened in that scene. So, again, in Phantasma, you can't fall in love. If you fall in love, you're cursed. Um, and Lucy is Cade's cousin and also Ophelia's little sister's friend. And she falls in love with this other character, Leon. And so her true and false is Lucy's in love with Leon. And she says yes and starts crying and gets cursed. Then Leon is not in love with Lucy. And that was
Oh,
also
no.
true.
That
So
was
she's
so
heartbroken
sad.
and cursed. They get out of the level. He tries to comfort her, but his touch now causes her physical excruciating pain. That's their curse for her falling in love.
Yeah.
So she forfeits the competition. Leon leaves shortly after. That was like beautiful and heartbreaking. And because of what happens later, which I know we're going to talk about, but I don't want to say it yet, when Ophelia's was she's kissed a devil, because of the scene with Sinclair right before, it was a really good way of covering up that other secret. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because she has kissed at least one devil.
Mhm.
So I just thought that was interesting that was her secret, and I feel like it would have been her secret regardless of what had just happened with Sinclair.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm, okay. So those are
But
your
she would have been
favorites?
wrong because she didn't know. But anyway,
True.
the second scene. Um, I like the bathtub scene. I think I
Okay.
texted you during that. Like, I think I texted you in all caps. Oh my God, he's washing her.
I
Because
think so. I feel like I do remember this text message from you.
yeah, it's this very like it starts out very gentle and loving and tender and caring, and then it gets like real sexy, and it's really good. But I just thought that was such a beautiful, like, sweet, sexy moment of like him caring for her after like this really traumatic thing that happened in the challenges.
Yeah.
I thought that was really beautiful, especially because they weren't super getting along right before that happened, and rather than him like standing on his grudge or whatever he was mad about, he just this was more important than that. And it's like,
Yeah.
I love you, Blackwell.
Oh my gosh, girl, me too. So I'm gonna give you my 2 favorite scenes. I mean, I love the book, but like
Yeah.
my first favorite scene was chapter 22 called Pleasure. So So this happened after one of the challenges where Ophelia thought that she was kissing Blackwell, but it
Oh, yeah.
wasn't. It was like another. It was like a devil
Yeah.
pretending to be him. I want to say this was during the what the
The
Lost
lust. The
challenge.
yeah.
So in this challenge, this devil pretended to be Blackwell, so he assumed his like likeness, and seduced Ophelia,
Uh-huh.
and Ophelia just gave in because at this point there's like this like tension between them
Yeah.
because Blackwell is like really like cocky and confident and a little bit arrogant, but he's also like very cute to her.
Yeah.
Like, so there's this whole tension. So during the Lost challenge, this like devil pretends to be him. So on chapter 22, pleasure. So Blackwell and Ophelia are talking, the actual Blackwell, and then they figure out obviously that the other guy was a an imposter, and they're talking
Yeah.
about this. And I actually screenshot this part just because I wanted to like read it. So
Oh, yeah.
they're talking about like like oh so you kiss an imposter, and they're like oh Blackwell's like oh I mean you need to try like the real thing. Like, how can you think that's me? So they're like going back and forth about this, and he tells her, "Are you?" Because basically they're talking, and she was like, "Well, just tell me then. How would you kiss? How would you kiss me?" So she says, "Well, let's hear it. How would things have gone if it had really been you and not an illusion?" And
Uh-huh.
he says, "Are you sure you want me to tell you?" And it says he shifted until their lips were practically touching, or would you like me to show you instead? And she says, "Show me."
Yeah.
So that was like
Yeah.
literally one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, that was
I was
really good.
like, I was like, get it, girl.
'Cause that's like their first
Like
time together, right?
I think so, because then after that, didn't he like teleport her to like her room or something?
Probably.
Yeah. So
Knowing
I don't know,
Blackwell.
something like that. But, like, I love that because they're going they're doing this whole back and forth thing, like, "Oh, really? How could you think that's me? Like, how could you
Yeah.
think so? Like, oh, really? You think you could have done it better?" So I
Yeah.
love how they're going back and forth with this, and then he's like, "Well, do you really want me to tell you or want me to show you?" She's like, "Show me." So, like,
Yeah.
that was freaking awesome. Now, my other I mean, there's so many great parts in this book.
Yeah.
So this was chapter 52. So this is at the very end of the book.
Okay.
It's called untethered, whatever.
Oh, Untethered,
Yeah,
yes.
so this is where they declare their love for each other, which was freaking awesome. And
Yep.
I have some like screenshots of this, and I love it because let me see. So obviously, if you fall in love, you're cursed. So towards the end of the book, like Blackwell's like, "Stop, like, don't say it."
I'll say it, yeah.
And and she says, "I love you. I love you so much. You saved me so many times in so many ways, and it barely took you a week to change me. So intrinsically, I may never be rid of my inner demons, but for this single sliver of time, whenever we were together, you made them quiet. I was able to hear myself for once, and I want you to know that I will gladly take on whatever this place is going to curse me with, knowing you will finally get out of the hell you've been trapped for so long." I was like, "Oh my gosh." Here I
It's
am like, "Oh my
beautiful.
god, girl." And
Yeah.
then, later
When he
on
finally
yes, later on in this chapter, um, so this is how it reads. So it says, "His face became serious once more. Ophelia, I am so effing in love with you. I think I fell in love with you when you asked me how you could help me that first time we met, Prince of Devils, spoiler alert, and you wanted to save me. Maybe somehow I knew then that you could be the one to set me free. And I meant what I said that night that you should hope we never met again. And I effing hate that this is what it's come down to. But every single second I've spent with you has reminded me of what it's like to be alive. And I would trade every soul in the world if it meant I would get to keep you forever." Like,
Blackwell!
I know, like, those were my 2 f I mean, the book is freaking amazing,
Yeah,
and those were, like, my 2 favorite scenes, their declarations of love for each
yeah,
other, like, which, this brings me to, obviously, the next question. Did you suspect that Blackwell was gonna be the Prince of Devils?
yes. So, I know you didn't, because remember, I don't I texted you the first time that I read it, and I
Yeah.
was like, "I knew he was gonna be the Prince of Devils." So, I don't know how it reads in the book,
Mhm.
because I did the Audible, but, like, the opening scene of the book before we get into the mom's dead is her screaming and saying, "You tricked me. I trusted you," all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
And then very shortly thereafter, we're meeting Black. So in my head, I was like, okay, it's on. So I knew there was going to be a secret with him.
Right.
And then I think it was when Sinclair, who's one of the devils and is like Blackwell's nemesis, tells her about the Prince of the Devils and how he fell in love. And like Salamastris is like his actual first name. He goes by
Mhm.
Salem.
Mhm.
Um, and what happened to him and why he has to run Phantasma, but
Right.
he's not allowed to tell her that the Phantom and the Prince of the Devils are one and the same. Also, on to defend Blackwell, he wasn't hiding this from Ophelia. Part of his punishment is that every time Phantasma starts a new competition, his memories reset. So he doesn't remember who he is, where he came from. He doesn't even remember that he's the Prince of the Devils until someone wins. And then
Right.
he gets his memories back, even though he's still trapped because no one has ever found the heart and the key, yada, yada, yada. So it's not like he tricked her and like was torturing her while, you know, pretending to be something he wasn't. He really didn't. He just knew that he's tethered there and he needs to get out of there. Um,
Right.
And even though he's like Prince of the Devils, like it's the other devils that do the levels that they compete in and create the challenges. He's just there to like grant a wish at the end to the winner. So he's not really a bad devil.
Right.
He's a great devil. And his dad's a jerk. I don't know how into the like the back of it you want to go, but like I'll wait because I feel like we're going to talk about this later, like some of the stuff that's still unresolved. Because what I didn't see coming was stuff with her, like that she still doesn't know. If that makes any sense as you read it, like the
Okay, with, like,
soul thing,
the what?
her soul and
Yeah,
whose soul
yes,
it
yes,
is.
oh my
That
gosh.
I didn't see
There's
coming.
there's so much to this. So,
Yeah,
but going back to the question, you see, I figured I was like, "Something's up with Blackwell.
yeah,
He's more than that," because from the beginning, he's like, "Well, you can call me Blackwell."
yeah,
Like, and but I somehow didn't put 2 and 2 together, and I didn't realize that that was him. I was like, "I know there's something about him. We're gonna find out he is something, but what is he?" And
yeah,
which makes sense that, he was like a phantom that could make himself corporeal because he was really a devil. He was like the prince of devils.
yeah,
And, so that's why he was so powerful, and that's why also nobody really messed with him.
yes,
So but no, that caught me by surprise, and, in chapter 50, that's already when we know that, who he is. I love where when he's like, "You may call me Salem."
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
"You may call me Salem."
yeah,
So, yeah, I knew something was up, but for some reason, I didn't expect him to be the Prince of Devils, the
yeah,
one that Sinclair was talking about. So but I guess now we can kinda go back to this. So the key in the heart that he was looking for was basically, so if you're probably gonna have to elaborate on this, but,
yeah,
um, so the reason he was trapped was because he had fallen in love with the mortal, right? With a
yes,
mortal, and his dad, the devil, Satan himself, obviously didn't like that. So his punishment was to basically unalive this woman and trap her soul in this like locket. basically. And it was given to a family of it was but they were I want they were like witches too. It was
They
like
were necroman it
they
was the Grimm family.
the
It was
okay.
Ophelia's ancestors.
So and it was a and it was almost um like they knew and there's no way there's no chance that a woman from this family could ever love a devil. You know
The
what I mean?
devil.
Like
Yeah.
so they kind of placed this locket in this family because they knew it was going to be really hard to make this happen. And
Yeah.
then this locket uh, was like a family heirloom, basically, and
Yeah.
the thing is that it contained his beloved's soul. And it just so happens that Ophelia had that locket and it was passed
Mhm.
on to her. So they had
When
fallen
she
in
found her
love.
mom dead in the beginning of the book.
True. So
Yeah.
it's just a lot. Like,
It's wild. So, yeah, the dad unalives the original love interest and says that, sends Sinclair because he at first helped Salem hide the woman that he loved, but then turned on him and turned them in, basically. So then Sinclair got punished to stay at Phantasma and make sure that Salem never escaped. But because devils be kooky like that, he was like, I'll put in a loophole so that my son can escape Phantasma if he can find the heart and the key. But I'm not going to make it possible for that to happen at all for at least 500 years. And it needs to be with another mortal, but someone who's aware of the paranormal, but leery of devils, so that it's not too easy for him. And in that scene, when we're reading that from 500 years ago, there's a necromancer named Hestia Grimm, who's Ophelia's like great, 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 great grandmother, who is currently in prison in hell for trying to raise an army of the dead. So they give her the locket, and it gets passed down to the eldest daughter each time. So when Ophelia's mom passes away, one of the first things she does is take the locket and put it on herself, right? Am I remembering that right?
I think so.
I could be remembering that wrong and making that up in my head. Maybe she always had the locket, but I could have swore it like transferred to her, like when she
I
took her mom's powers.
I thought so too. Sorry, Luna is now
But
like
Ophelia was
talking.
the first person that was like uh within that time frame. So it's been 500 years. So now she received it. So basically, like that soul was reborn in her. But it's like her heart is outside of her body because if she ever takes that necklace off once she started wearing it, her heart stops because it's like her heart and soul are outside of herself. They're in this locket, unbeknownst to her. She didn't know that until later in the competition when at one point Cade rips off her locket and her heart stops. So she puts it back on and then she's fine. That so I didn't see it coming that like the original love interest basically was Ophelia in a different body, but it's like the same soul reborn, which is also super beautiful. But what kills me is that at the end of the book, neither of them know it either. They know about the locket and they know like her heart had something to do with the locket and they don't know how it wound up in her family or why the Grimms would have something of the King of Devils. And they're researching it, but they don't find it out. But they still don't know that her soul and Angel's soul are the same soul. And I'm like, I need another book that's just about them, just so they can realize, like, not only are they in love and happy now, but like they've always been meant for each other. They need to know.
I know, that is the one thing that I'm like, so that is the one thing that I wish we knew a little bit more. And then, towards the end, it is a happy ending. I'm happy with
For
the
sure.
ending, even
Yeah.
though even though we don't get to see them knowing that.
Yeah.
Hopefully that means that we'll just get more books and hopefully
Yeah.
expand more on their story.
Yes.
But I am happy with the ending. Are you happy with the ending?
I would say I was very happy with the ending. I liked that, the big problems were solved. She realizes that her heart, her locket, but her heart was the same thing as the key. Once he had it, he was able to open it. No one else could ever open it. He was able to open it. All of his power returned to him. Instead of her keeping the curse, she becomes tethered to him with her life force. So now she's immortal like he is. So they can live happily ever after, forever and ever and ever. Uh, they are able to save Grim Manor. they're able to make her sister's dreams come true and send her off on a trip to Italy, that they'll meet her there a few weeks later so that they can have some quality alone time with each other and their new cat, Poe. And like they're just really happy, and everything worked out. And she's finding her own way with the family business and making it her own instead of doing everything that her mom did. She's doing what she wants to do while still helping people. So I thought it was great, but I still want more. And we are getting more, which is going to be the sister story. I think it's going to be called Enchantra, which is
Yes, yes, yes.
Italy, and it's
Um,
the
are
Genevieve
you
story, but
Yeah, I think the book comes out in April. Do you think you're gonna wanna
yeah.
read it?
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. So,
Like the
at
day it
the
comes out, probably.
yeah, so, like, at the end of the book, the digital one that I was reading, you do
Yeah.
get, like, I think it's, like, the first 4 chapters of Enchantra. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, so I read that already, and at first I was like, "God darn, like, I want more Ophelia and Blackwell, like, Genevieve is cool
Yes.
and stuff, but I want more of this." Um, so it is pretty interesting, so if you read those chapters, so I at first I was like, "Eh," but then it got a little bit better,
Yeah.
so
I
she
think I
finds
read not the first 4 chapters, but, like, a blurb or something for the new one where, like, she gets invited to someone's house, and it's sort of like a dinner party, but, like, murdery. I don't know.
So, the second book, from what I remember reading from these pages, she tries to go to this house that she was invited to, but technically she wasn't really invited. It was her mom that was invited, and she responded to these letters as if it was her mom. So the invitation was really for
Genevieve.
her mom, not for her. So she goes to this place,
Uh-huh.
and it's one of those things where she tries to get in and she gets kicked out because she's not supposed to be there. It wasn't really for her, but she tries to get in. So, and then there's like an individual there. I don't know what he is. I'm assuming it's gonna be her love interest there.
Yeah.
Because she's like, oh, this guy is like big and like dark and whatever. And so I feel like it has to be with that because Genevieve, she's being the youngest. An extrovert. She's kind of wild and crazy, and
Yeah, she
she
makes some
forged these
interesting
letters.
choices for sure.
Yeah, like, she forged these letters pretending to be her mom. The invitation is not for her, it's for her mom who is, deceased,
Ted.
and the house is like, "You are not invited, girl, like, what are you doing
Mhm.
here? You're pretending to be her." So, I'm curious
Mm.
to see who this stranger is in this house.
We forgot I mean, didn't forget, but there's so much that goes on in this book. We should also say that it turns out that Genevieve and Ophelia's parents met at Phantasma,
Mhm.
fell in love at Phantasma, conceived Ophelia in Phantasma. The dad's a specter, so both Ophelia and Genevieve can, like, make themselves disappear. Genevieve's so good at it, she can, like, walk through walls.
Mhm.
Um, so that's crazy. And
Yeah.
the parents were cursed so that, like, the mom no longer loved the dad, but the dad became more and more obsessed. So then she had to make deals with devils and, like, pay them off to,
To,
like,
like, hide
get
that
them
hide
to do
her.
magic to hide them and try to get him to forget them. And then it turns out,
I was gonna
because
say
when the
that, yeah.
mom died, it was, like, out of nowhere. And then it
Mhm.
turns out that he lost the second to last challenge where he had to determine, like, there's basically 2 of Ophelia's mom in a room, and he has to say which one is the imposter, and he chose wrong, and the consequence of that is that the person you love most dies, which is her.
Right.
Um, so there's also all of that backstory that I forgot to mention
Yeah.
in
I
Phantasma,
think
so
yeah. I think this book was freaking great.
it was
Like,
so good, and it
I
didn't feel like
loved
too
it.
much, even though there's so much to the story, it didn't feel like they were just throwing
No.
stuff in to throw it in. It felt very, like, purposeful and made sense in the story. I liked that Genevieve has known she's had power since she was a kid, as opposed to Ophelia, even though Ophelia was the one that's, like, supposed to take charge of all the magical stuff. Genevieve's been sneaking out and walking through walls since she was, like, in middle school or something. She's just, like, crushing it.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's gonna be really interesting in her story, like, how being just Spectre and not Necromancer, what that looks like for her.
Yeah.
And
I mean, for this little glimpse that you get,
yeah,
of the book, like, she uses her abilities to, like, try to put herself into this house that keeps on kicking her
so
out.
Genevieve, she's so
So
impulsive.
So I definitely want to read the Enchantra when it comes out in
Yeah,
April. I think
for
that
sure.
Kaylee Smith did an amazing job with Phantasma. I
Yeah,
loved it. Like I said, right now I'm trying to read Quicksilver, but like I'm still on like page like 115, something like
yeah,
that. And like I'm not picking it up every day. It's kind of like, oh God, like we're
yeah, I
still
gotta
like
do
kind of
this, yeah.
like we still
I
kind of
don't know because I haven't started it yet, Quicksilver, so I don't know how I feel about it yet, but
yeah.
it's always hard when, like, you really wanna read a book and you know it's gonna get good at some point, but you're like, "Come on."
Gotta get through it, just kinda like
Yeah,
when we're reading Throne of Glass,
Tower of
Tower of
Dawn.
Dawn. Oh my gosh, that book's I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna spoil it anything, but,
That
like,
took, like, 25 chapters to get going, it was crazy.
gosh, I know,
But
and
it was good once it started, I think, but, oh my
it
god.
it took me forever to read because,
There's so many
side
new
note, Tower
characters.
of Dawn is, like, book number
7.
5? Oh, you see, I read it in, like, a
If you
different
do
order.
tandem, it's, like, 6th and 7 because 'cause you're doing Empire of Shadows,
Empire Storms, is
Empire
it?
Storms, and Tower of Dawn at the same time, right?
So,
And then you go into Kingdom of Ash.
yeah, I didn't read them tandem, I read
Me
one
neither.
at a time,
Yeah,
so
me
I
too.
felt like Tower of Dawn took me freaking forever, but it was more annoying because I wanted to really just follow the Aelin and Rowan
Especially because of
story.
what happens
Mhm.
at the end of Empire of Storms, you're like, "Ah!" And then you don't know anything for the whole book 7 unless you do the tandem read with Empire of Storms, and I was planning on doing the tandem read, but I wrote it down wrong, so I thought you tandem read Tower of Dawn with Kingdom of Ash, which
Oh,
you do not.
no.
So I
No.
finished Empire of Storms, I was like, "Alright," and I was talking to my best friend Laura, I was like, "I'm gonna start the tandem read," and she's like, "Babe, you missed out on the tandem read, you can't,
Yeah.
like, you have to do Tower of Dawn and then Kingdom of Ash." So I did, and I really did like Tower of Dawn. I think it gets more hate than it deserves. I think Kale, while some of his choices are questionable, I think he has a good heart and he's a good character
Yeah.
and he's an important part of the trio and shows that you don't need magic to make a difference in the world. You don't even need to be fully able to make a difference in the world. So I think there's a lot of beautiful stuff to his
Yeah.
story and his heart and his bravery. I think he gets more hate than he deserves.
Yeah.
However,
We're gonna need to discuss, Tower of Dawn and,
yeah,
like,
I
all the
don't want to get
Turner
too
Glass books too,
okay.
but no, I agree. See, I don't so that I hate on the book, and I do like Kale and Irene. I just feel like the book was pretty long, and that if
Yeah,
anything, we could have done with it being more of like a novella,
yeah.
like a Court of, Frost and Starlight,
Frost
which
and
is just,
Starlight,
like,
yeah,
little, because
yeah,
I feel like the book was too long for what it was. Like,
yeah,
it was too it dragged on for so long,
yeah,
which I feel like could have been, like, shortened or incorporated into one of the other books.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I could see that for sure.
Um, but, any extra like, anything else you wanna say about, Phantasma before we kinda touch base on Yule briefly?
Um, trying to think. I mean, I'm sure there's so many things that we missed. Let me just look over my notes really quick. I had just
Yeah,
written down like what the different challenges were in the different circles. They start in limbo, then lust, then greed, gluttony, wrath, deceit, violence, and then fraud. Um, and like I said, I think deceit was my favorite. Fraud was probably my second favorite. I don't know what that says about me as a person. I like the truth, I guess. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Hey, yeah, no, absolutely.
But, I also can't stop thinking about what did the other drinks do in Lust? Because in the Lust challenge, like, a devil or demon or whatever presents the contestant with, like, a tray of, like, 5 different colored drinks, like gold, blue, green, red, pink. You pick one, you drink it, the hallucinations begin, you're in the challenge. So, in the book, Ophelia chooses the red drink, which winds up being bloodlust, so she's, like, just watching all these hot vampires bang each other. Which sounds funny. I don't know how I'm describing it, but it was well done. And
Yeah,
but all I kept thinking is like, what does the green one do? What does the blue one do? I really want to know.
yeah,
But no, I really don't have any other like major thoughts on the book. Just it was really good. I'm very much looking forward to Genevieve's story, especially knowing that the way this book ends, Salem and Ophelia, Salem is Blackwell, are going to meet her there. So they may not be in the book the whole time, but I feel like they'll be there like just in the nick of time or something, or we'll get at least some of them, I think.
yeah. I think
Um,
so.
and hopefully more and more books to come about like their adventures as necromancer, specter, and devil. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a great,
I'm definitely really excited about that.
yeah, it's good.
So if you guys are looking for a good romantasy book to read with a little bit of spice, I think this book is freaking amazing.
Yeah, it's
And if you're into the paranormal, I think that
yeah,
too. The one thing that I thought was kind of interesting was when they were describing the different type of like entities, and then they talked about the ghouls, where they describe them as like the ghouls are like I guess apparitions that have been around for so long
yeah,
that they kind of get into this zombie like state. They don't really
yeah, like
kind of
they
make
stayed too long and
yeah,
not
they
finished
don't
their business or
right,
whatever.
right,
Yeah,
they never finished their business, they didn't move on, now they're kinda like zombie-ish, you're kinda like so that's what, like, a ghoul is, so I find that really interesting to be able
yeah,
to kinda explain all these things too, and, the book is amazing, so if
yeah,
you
it
guys are
was really
looking for a romantasy book, this is great.
yeah.
But I know we are already at, like, the hour, but we wanna
Oh,
touch base
geez.
yeah, and this book is freaking good, but
It's
I
really
wanted
good.
we wanted to touch base briefly on Yule since we do like our like witchy talks here
Yes.
too. So today is Yule, or
Yeah.
basically, the winter solstice. So for a lot of people that are into like witchy things and that follow the year, the wheel of the year, today is again the winter solstice, December 21st. That's when Yule is celebrated. It's the longest night of the year, shortest day of the year. It's a time of transition, of rebirth, of renewal, and it just symbolizes the triumph of light over darkness as the
Mhm.
sun grows stronger, and it just promises the return of spring. So that's kind of like what Yule is, and there's different ways to like celebrate it. But at first, I know you had like some of the associations with it too.
Yeah. I've got a bunch of Post-its here that I'm gonna pull up and read.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mel and I are both crystal girlies. So the first Post-it I'm starting with is like crystals for Yule. For me personally, sometimes I like to do like a bowl, like a crystal bowl, or like a Yule bowl, and I'll put in these different crystals. So the first on the list is snowflake obsidian, which is sort of obvious in that snowflake is in the name, winter. Um, red tiger's eye, which is good for like energy, creativity, especially when we're in this sort of like darker, shorter days, to have sort of something to help you, give you a little oomph and inspiration. Green goldstone. Let's see if I can read my own handwriting. Listen, let's try the glasses. Sorry, guys. Can't read my own handwriting.
It
Oh,
happens.
abundance. Oh, do you like my new glasses, by the way?
They are cute. It is funny that you said abundance because I was thinking too, like, oh my god, pyrite is also good for,
That's on the list as well.
and it's, that would be
It's actually
pink.
next. Pyrite for like green goldstone abundance, but also is good for strengthening family bonds, and that could be the family you're born into or the family that you make. But we're usually spending time with family or friends that are like family during the holidays, so it's good to feel connected. Pyrite. So again, this is like kind of symbolizing stepping into the light. That pyrite is because it's very reflective. It's gold. Um, Again, abundance as well. Bloodstone for like protection and grounding and purification. So kind of like absorb some of that negativity, help you be able to sort of like focus on your plans. And garnet, which is great for Yule, but also I think heading into the new year is a good one because they say that can really help you in planning new projects, and setting goals. And then always throw in some clear quartz to amplify those intentions. So that's what I would include in my Yule crystal bowl. And a lot of
Yeah.
them are like red and green, gold. And that brings me to the colors of Yule. So typically your main four are going to be, no surprise, red, green, gold, and silver. No shocker there. Some people also include midnight blue as a Yule color. So silver and a dark blue is sort of wintry vibes. but any of those colors are fine. So if you wanted to light a candle for Yule, any one of those colors would be appropriate. Oh, like this is my where I have a lot of the witchy things that I do that
Yes.
like I make myself. I'll put in here. So I have my Yule simmer pot recipe here. I
Oh,
don't
I
know if
love
you,
it.
but and I'll tell you what's in it. So these are some of like the plants or foods or herbs that you would want to either incorporate into any spell work or if you're into cooking. These are good things to include and have these intentions in mind when you're using them. So this is what I put in my Yule simmer pot. Oranges to symbolize the return of the sun. Rosemary for cleansing, like getting rid of any negative energy, keeping it positive for the celebration and the start of the new year. Cinnamon for protection for yourself and your loved ones in your home. Cranberries for abundance. Nutmeg for health. And then just a few like drops of like a Yule oil. I have blends that I like, but anything like clove, frankincense, orange, you could use like a drop of each of those, and that would be a really nice scent for a Yule oil. Which brings me to my favorite Yule ritual, which is listen, I was bad this year. I really didn't do anything for Yule, at least not yet. And it's nine
Same.
o'clock our
Same.
time
Mhm.
at night. But one thing that I always do for the holidays, since I sort of started this journey, is I'll take an oil that's like Yule scented. And when I'm wrapping my loved one's presents, I'll put some on my finger, and on the inside of the wrapping paper, I'll just write a word that I want to wrap into their gift. So, joy, love, peace, whatever like I want to send them, I'm putting that on the inside of the wrapping paper and folding it into my gift that I give them. That's one of my favorite like Yule things that I do. It's very simple, doesn't take a lot of supplies or time, and it's just like I said on the last episode, for me, it's all about like intent and mindfulness and all of that. So you could probably do this without an oil. Like you don't necessarily need the things, but it's just being mindful of like, this is what I wish for this person and just sending that energy out into the universe and to them. And one of my other favorite things is like going for a walk in nature and like foraging for like pine cones. And then you do that and you make wishes that you stick into the pine cones. So just on like some sort of paper, preferably biodegradable. And then you actually burn those on New Year's to release your wish into the new year. So those are two that I really like as far as like rituals go. There's of course, your Yule log, things like that that are very traditional, which I've done Yule logs before, but for me, I do more like the simmer pot, the intentions for other people when I'm wrapping their gifts, things like that are like standard that I always do. I don't always do a Yule log. But yeah, I don't know if I went too fast, but I know that we're like short on
N
time. So I just tried
no,
to
no,
like,
that's perfect, and I agree with you, I haven't really done anything for you. I mean, I lit a candle.
yeah,
I
hey,
I got this Bath&
more
and
than
Body
I
Works.
did.
I got this Bath& and Body Works candle. It wasn't like a ritual candle or anything. I got this, like, lavender pine candle, and I felt like it
Ooh,
was vibing great, for Yule, with the
yeah,
pine, because pine and holly and, those are all great for Yule. Um so I lit that. I
yeah,
do have a Yule tarot deck, so maybe after the podcast, I'll do like a spread and like a reading.
yeah,
Um, but last year I did a Yule log. I meant to do one this year, but I mean, life has been lifing and it's been busy. And like, I
yeah,
even worked today. I worked a long day yesterday. I worked until almost 7 p.m. from like 9 a.m. yesterday. And then today I worked too, so it's just been busy and I didn't
yeah,
get a chance to do my log, but it's all about like you said, do something with intention. So you don't
yeah.
have to do anything um like too crazy. It's just intention. You even just lighting a candle with the intention that you want to bring in prosperity or even
Mhm.
cleanse the vibe or I actually have my little Yule goat from the witch's moon
I
sitting
do still have that too.
down
I need to put out, I guess. I didn't put it
sitting
out
downstairs. I actually think I have 2. Let me see. Oh, I thought I had the smaller one down here I was looking for. Oh, never mind. It's out of reach. I was trying to get it, but that's
yet.
another thing too. So, like, there's so many things you can do, and, like, the simmer pods, like, literally, you just boil those things, and you just let
Yeah.
the fragrance just, like, fill your home,
It smells
and
so good, like, even if you're not into the witchy side of things, like, it just smells so good, and it makes it smell like Christmas in your house or
mhm.
the holidays, like,
Yeah.
but what I like about looking at it from that witchy perspective is that like we've been saying, those intentions are there. So when I'm smelling those things and I notice the orange or whatever, I'm like, brighter days are coming and that cinnamon's really hitting and I feel like safe and warm, like just keeping that in my mind. I think that's a powerful thing.
Yeah, and
And
even
it's so simple.
the pomanders, I forget how to pronounce it, but it's like basically
Yeah.
you take the little like an orange and you put like cloves on it.
Yes.
Sometimes you can put like a red ribbon and hang it, and it's for like prosperity and abundance and
Mhm.
all that good stuff. So there's so many things that you can do on Yule, and
Yeah.
it's just cool, you know. But yeah, I feel like time definitely flies when you're having fun. I'm like, look at the time, like it's been out for like an hour and 10 minutes.
Wow. Look
I
at us
mean,
go.
I know most of the podcast just or episode just kind of went on talking about the book, which was
Yeah,
so
oh my god,
so
it was
good.
such a good I'm so glad that, like, during the last episode, you were like, "Do you wanna just read this?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I knew it was gonna be good from how you described it, but it was even better. So
Oh,
I'm more than thrilled. I've now read it twice. I
it
can't
was
remember the last time I read a book twice.
it was
So,
so good, and like I need to read and I need to get the audio version of
it's
this too.
really good.
Because, I mean, the book is just freaking amazing, and, like, Blackwell might be a phantom, later on devil, but
Oh my god, Blackwell can get it. I'm just gonna say it. Blackwell could get it. Oh,
I
just to
know.
describe Blackwell real quick, he's got, like, silver white hair. So, like, I don't know, I picture, like, Draco Malfoy hair, but less yellow. And then he's got, like, emerald green eyes, and he dresses impeccably, and he's snarky and funny. Oh my god, I love Blackwell.
Oh, I know, girl, me too. It's
I have
you
so many
see
fake boyfriends. My husband
all
hates it.
all the shadow daddy boyfriends.
Oh god, all I want for Christmas.
Is this list right here.
This list of
We have
shadow
a
daddies,
list.
please.
Oh, that's too funny, but yeah, no, this book was amazing, guys, so if you do read
Yeah,
it, let us
definitely
know.
recommend.
Let us know, like, come back to the podcast, leave us comments, or also our Instagrams are listed below,
Yeah.
so you can shoot us a DM and be like, "Hey, we read, Phantasma, this is what we thought," because honestly, the book was freaking amazing.
It was so good.
But I think that's about it. I mean, I had a great time.
As always.
We don't know what book we're gonna, discuss
Yeah, not
next,
sure yet.
so but we definitely wanna do the ACOTAR books, which we've
Yeah,
already read.
yes.
And Throne of Glass, so I don't know, maybe we'll start,
Yeah,
doing,
maybe
like, a
we could
dive.
dive into the SJM universe, what we've both read over the next couple episodes, and then choose
Yeah.
different like, figure out witchy stuff, like, that we wanna pair with each one too, but yeah, I think
Yeah,
that
no,
can be good.
absolutely, and, like, even I would wanna do, like, a dive into ACOTAR, like, each book, or at least maybe just in 'cause it might be easier to do, like, the entire series. If so, we might be on for a little more than an hour because
Yeah,
so far we have, what, 5 books
yeah,
for
so
ACOTAR?
far. Mhm.
So maybe we can do that because there's
Yeah,
so much to talk about there. I mean, that is like the gateway drug to reading.
yeah,
Like that got me into reading. I was really not a reader up until
yeah,
ACOTAR, and I love the Bat Boys, Bat BAT, like Batman, but Bat
yeah.
Boys. I love me some Resand. Oh my,
Asriel. Have you read
um,
sorry, I know that we're ending, but did you read the bonus chapters yet?
girl, I have not. I keep on forgetting there's the
I'm gonna
bonus
I don't know if
chapters.
you let me know if you need a link
Yeah, I
because
do.
okay, I think it's still on my clipboard from the other day, but I finally read Azriel's chapter.
Girl.
Oh my god,
Okay, send it to me.
so
Yes.
good. It's so good. Like, there's one for Reese and Feyre too, like, when she's still pregnant, spoiler.
Okay.
Um, It's just like a cute scene with them. Like it's sort of during Silver Flames time. But Azrael's, oh my God, I cannot wait for the book from his perspective. That's all I can say. Also, if you love Azrael, spoiler, read Crescent City because he's in it a lot. That's all I'm gonna
Girl,
say.
I
That's
need
all I'm
to
gonna say.
I need to read Crescent City. So maybe after I'm done with Quicksilver, I'll start Crescent City.
Oh my God,
Um,
please. Because then we'll have read all of SJM
True.
for
It's what,
now.
3 Crescent City books?
3 Crescent City, 8 Front of Glass, 5 Ektar so far.
Well, at least I've read the book already. I already did
Yeah.
all the 8 Throne of Glass books, the
Yep.
5 Agatar
Done.
books. So now on to Crescent City. So once I
Yeah.
finish Quicksilver, because I am determined to finish
Yeah.
this book,
Well,
because
you know what? Quicksilver's in my like to read, like it's downloaded as my next audiobook. So maybe I'll do that while you're
okay,
doing it. And maybe we could just get Quicksilver out of the way and then jump into SJM for like,
okay,
we'll see. We'll talk more. Sorry,
we'll
everybody. We're
figure it
talking
out.
logistics.
Yeah, yeah. But this is basically what our podcast is gonna be about, just
Yeah.
bookish, nerdy, witchy, all that good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, shadow daddies galore.
Oh, yeah. Galore,
um,
galore, galore.
yeah, but I mean, with that said, you guys, have a happy and blessed Yule and a Merry
Yeah.
Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas, happy
Yes. Happy
holidays,
holidays.
happy New Year, all that good stuff.
Yes, indeed.
Alrighty, guys. Well, we'll see you sometime next month.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.